Hey guys, Brett here, and in this video I'm taking a look at the LogoStudio. LogoStudio is a desktop software that claims to be the best logo creation software in the world. So here I am, I've loaded it up on my computer, I've just opened it up, and you can see in order to get started I have to enter in my receipt ID from JVZoo. Now this isn't necessarily a bad thing. There's a lot of software piracy out there, and software developers lose a lot of money from software piracy. So they want you to enter in your receipt ID to prove that you actually bought it. The problem is that it doesn't save your receipt ID once you enter it. So every single time you want to open up the software, you have to enter in your receipt ID. And I mean, that's not a horrible thing, but it's kind of a pain. I mean, the sensible thing to do would have been to save the person's receipt ID to like a text file inside of the system, and then load up the receipt ID from the text file so that way the person doesn't have to keep entering it every time they want to open the program. Unfortunately, they didn't have the sense to do this, and that kind of makes sense because they didn't have the sense to do a lot of things in this software. So let me go ahead and enter in my default ID here that'll get me access, and then I'll show you some of the things that I found out about the LogoStudio. Alright, so this is what the interface looks like. On the upper left hand side you can see there's a link to contact support, there's a link for about us, add new template, new design, reset template, which why in the world they even have the reset template button showing makes no sense at all, because at this point I'm not even working on a design. Save project, again, why do they have this showing all the time? Because at this point I'm not even working on a design. It makes no sense. Open a project, add custom image, again something that really shouldn't be showing all the time. Export, again something that shouldn't be showing all the time. It's like they don't have dynamic elements here. They don't just show you the menus that you need when you're working. They just have this generic menu that has all the options that shows all the time, which really doesn't make a lot of sense, and also it makes the interface a little bit clunky and cluttered because you see all the options all the time. So in order to get started though, I'm going to go ahead and create a new design from scratch at first. I'll show you some of the templates and I'll show you some of the other things, but first I want to create a new design from scratch. So it's going to ask me the size of my designs, the width and height of my logo design. So I'm going to leave it at the default 800 by 600 and click OK. And this is then going to create a new canvas area where I can create my logo. And right here again you can see a continuation of some poorly designed features. You'll notice on the upper left hand side my tools, my drawing creation tools, are covering these links. Now I can move this down and move it out of the way, but it shouldn't be like that in the first place. It shouldn't be up here covering these links. It just makes it look cheap, and it just makes it look like a poorly designed software. Also, you'll notice on the bottom here that my white canvas area where I would create my logo covers the icons for the controls. And again, this just looks cheap and poor quality doing it this way. I mean, it shouldn't be covering my controls. The interface should be designed better. And that's what you can see here. You can see a poorly designed interface. On the right hand side here, you can see there's this little slider that will allow me to zoom in and out. Well, it used to allow me to zoom in and out. Now all it really does is allow you to zoom out. When I first tested this software, I've actually tested several versions of this, but when I first tested it, zooming would cause the canvas area to like jump all over the screen, and I pointed that out to the software developers, and their solution was to just take away the zooming in, so that way you can't zoom in anymore. So instead of like fixing the problem, they decided to just remove the feature altogether. But watch what happens still when I zoom out. You can see this is fine, but when I go to zoom in, it actually gets bigger than it was originally. So originally it was showing at 100%, and now when I take it back to smaller and then back to 100%, for some reason it's even bigger than 100%, even though it still says it's at 100%. And now you can see the controls are all really covered by this canvas area. Now I can go ahead and click on this hand and like move it out of the way and maybe zoom it so that it actually fits and move it and trying to reposition it. But I shouldn't have to do that. I mean, the interface should be designed well. It shouldn't allow you to put one element over another and stuff. It's just poor design. It's just, you know, it shouldn't be made this way. It shouldn't require people to rearrange stuff so that way the interface looks decently. But you know what? The interface of a program is only a part of it. The most important thing about a program is going to be its functionality and what you can do with that program. So let's go ahead and test some of its functionality. So on the left-hand side, you can see the tools that you can use to create your logo. There is a drawing tool, which is basically like a freehand drawing. There is a path tool, which allows you to create a path of lines. There is a polygon tool, which will allow you to create a many-sided shape. There is a draw polyline. I don't really even know what that is. I'm not really big into like graphics design. I'm not sure what a polyline is. There is a circle tool, a ellipse tool, a rectangle, a straight line, and text. And you'll notice that there's like no clip arts in here. There's no like pre-made graphics that you can add in here. There's really what this is just like a basic paint program. I mean, this is like a very generic basic paint program. It does have like an upload image here, so you can add a custom image, but watch what happens when I try to add a custom image. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the button, and then I'll make my area here. On the right hand side, it's then going to bring up my menu so I can add my custom image. I'll import the image. I'll use my dog head logo here, which incidentally has no border and has a white background. I'll go ahead and click on that. I'll open it, and you can see it puts a border around my graphic, and it puts like a bluish background on it as well. So it basically ruins my image that I import. I mean, this has a white background. The real graphic has a white background and has no border around it at all. So this image upload is essentially useless because it ruins the graphic. I'll go ahead and upload another one here. Let's find another one. I'll use my own logo here. And you can see it totally ruins the image. It keeps that border around it, and it keeps that bluish background around it. So the image upload is completely useless. It's not, it's something that you're going to be able to do, which means that in essence, you have to create your logo with just these, line-based basic drawing tools like circles and text and stuff, which isn't very functional. I mean, if you're going to do that, if you're going to create a logo with like, line drawing tools and circles and ellipses and rectangles, why do you even need a program like this? I mean, you could just use like Microsoft Paint or something to make your logo. And there's tons of free drawing programs out there. There's no reason to like buy one. You also notice that things are really buggy in here. So, for example, I want to go ahead and edit this text. For some reason, when you click on the text to edit it, it opens in another text box, and then you type your text in another text box instead of typing it, as you're going to see it, which is really weird. Also, on the right-hand side, you can see like the interface is kind of weird. Like it says size is 30, but if I resize the text, it won't change this size here. It's very strange the way it works. The only options in the text are like to set its color, to choose its font, which for some reason it never shows a font to begin with. Like they're obviously using some kind of font because I see text here, but it doesn't show the font to begin with. You can select the font, the color of your text, and you can select its property, which is only two things: opacity and blur. So there's no way to set like a gradient. There's no way to set like any kind of effects with the text at all. Okay, so as far as using this to create a logo from scratch, I'm going to say it's not very usable. Like I said, it's basically just a line-based paint program, and you don't need to buy a line-based paint program. Pretty much everybody has one. I mean, every Windows computer comes with Paint. I'm not an Apple user, but I'm sure that Macs come with some kind of like paint program. And if you don't have one, there's tons of really good paint programs out there that you can get at really low cost, and a lot of them you can get for free. There's no reason to buy this to create logos from scratch because, it's just a paint program, and there's tons of them. But this does come with pre-made templates. So I thought to myself, maybe this is worth buying because it has like logos already created, as designs already created, and you can use some of them. So let's go ahead and check out some of the designs that are already created and that you can use. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Add New Template. And we can look at some of the pre-made designs. So I'm going to go ahead and click on them here so they'll preview bigger on the right-hand side. And honestly, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So when I'm speaking now, I'm just saying my own opinion. But in my opinion, these designs are not professional quality designs. I mean, if I hired somebody to create a logo for me and they gave me this right here, I'd be like, what the heck is this? Did your kid make it? We can look at some of the other ones. They're very cheap, very generic, very low quality designs here. And the reason being is because they were made with this program, which is not a very powerful program. Let's look at some of the other ones here. That one is okay, I guess, but it has a cheap, low quality feel to it. It doesn't look like a professional design, at least to me. Now, if it does to you, then that's great. I mean, but to me, it doesn't look like a professional design. Go look at business. They all look very cheaply made, very generic. And like I said, it's because they were made with a program that's not very powerful. They were made with what is in essence a basic drawing tool. Another thing that I noticed is that the templates don't always load right. For example, watch, I'll show you here. This one here, I'm going to go ahead and click on this one. That is horribly ugly. It's very generic. I would not use this like for my company. And if I was doing design, I wouldn't present that to a client. But I'm going to use this for an example because I know it happens with this one. It happens with some of the other ones as well, but I know it happens with this one. So you can see here, it has the lines, the arrows pointing left and the arrows pointing right, and it says your company in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and add this logo, and you can see it doesn't load the logo right. The arrows are pointing left, the arrows are pointing right, and they overlap the text that says your company. It does not even look like it did in the preview. And there's actually a couple of other templates that are like this, that they won't load correctly as per the way the template is supposed to be. So I don't know if that's a problem with the software, if that's a problem with the way it saves, like they made these with the software and saved it. I'm not real sure what's going on with that. But some of the templates, not only do they not look good, but they don't even load right when you try to load one. And that's something that, I've noticed as I've gone on using this. Like I said, I have tested this several different times. I've listed a whole bunch of bugs to the vendors. And they fixed some of them, but it seems like every time they fix a bug, new ones just come into play. And what's happening here is they're having these problems because they've waited to the end to do any type of real testing. I mean, I was giving them listing bugs for them to fix yesterday, and they're launching today. In order to do a software and to do a software properly, you need to have it done, completed like a month in advance. Give it to a whole bunch of people and let them test it for weeks. You don't want to be doing these last minute fixes. That's not the proper way to do software development. When you do it that way, what you get is stuff like this. You get silly little bugs. And then somebody will point it out to you. You'll go in and try to fix it quick, but you'll break something else. Something unintentional will happen, and you get new bugs. And that's really, honestly, that's how bad software gets made. You can see another really weird bug that I actually pointed out to them, but they haven't fixed if I go ahead and load a template that I've already saved. So I'm actually going to go ahead and close this software here. I'm going to reopen it. Once again, I got to enter my receipt ID. I'll open it up. And this time, right from the door, I'm going to open up a saved project. So I've got open project here. I'll click on that. I'll find the project that I saved. I just called it test. I can find it. There it is. I'll open it up. And look what happens here. It opens up my project, but it leaves their logo here. It doesn't clear out their logo. And if I move this stuff around, you can actually see that their logo is still here. It's still on top of everything. I don't know why my text saved on the way on the left here, by the way, either. But this is a bug that I pointed out to them. I told them that when you open up a project from the beginning, their logo still is showing over the project workspace. They didn't fix it. I don't know why. Honestly, as I tested this, I kind of felt bad because I was kept giving the vendors things to fix and pointing out bugs, and I could tell that they were getting maybe a little frustrated with it. But the truth is, this is still just a buggy software. When it really comes down to it, the LogoStudio isn't like the best logo creation software out there. What it really is just a really generic, poorly designed, buggy paint program. And there's really no reason to buy it. I mean, if you like the templates, I didn't like the templates. I thought the pre-made templates were pretty amateurish, pretty generic. If you like them and it's worth buying for those templates, then maybe you want to consider it. But me personally, I don't see any reason why anybody should buy this. There's nothing good about this software. Alrighty, guys, thank you and enjoy.